I will never forget the look on my father's face when he saw me that evening. He was standing tall, proud, with his hands placed gently on my sister's shoulders as the guests clapped, cheering the newly wedded couple. Laughter filled the room, camera flashes burst like firecrackers, and my sister beamed as if the world itself belonged to her. Then the doors opened. And I walked in. The applause died. Glasses froze midair. The violinist's bow slipped across the strings with a screech. 100 eyes widened at once, but none more than my father's. His face turned pale, his lips trembled, and then he screamed. "Why are you still alive?" The hall fell into a silence so heavy that I could hear the chandeliers sway. That was the moment everyone realized, this wedding was no celebration. It was the battlefield where the truth would finally surface. You might think I was an uninvited guest. In a way, I was. My name is Isabella Moreno, the eldest daughter of Rafael Moreno, a man who built his empire on secrets, betrayal, and blood. To the world, he was a respected businessman. To me, he was both my father and my executioner. Yes. Executioner. 3 years ago, I was supposed to be dead. It started when my mother passed away. She had always been my shield, the quiet force who stood between me and my father's storm. When cancer took her, my father's mask cracked. He blamed me for everything, for her suffering, for her death, even for the shadows that haunted his empire. My sister, Clarissa, became his jewel, his pride, while I became the thorn he longed to pluck out. The day it all began, he called me into his study. The air reeked of cigar smoke, and his voice was sharper than the blade he pretended to polish on his desk. "You don't belong here anymore," he said without looking at me. I thought he meant leaving home, finding my own life. But then he smiled. A smile that chilled my bones. 2 nights later, I was dragged into the woods by men I recognized, my father's trusted guards. They tied my hands, blindfolded me, and pushed me into the earth. I remember the smell of gasoline, the snap of a match, and the searing heat rushing toward me. They left me burning, alive. But fate is cruel and kind in strange ways. I survived. Barely. A stranger found me, an old woman who lived in isolation near the mountains. She nursed me, healed my wounds, and gave me a reason to breathe again. But she also gave me something else, a mirror. And when I looked into it, I didn't see Isabella Moreno, the broken daughter. I saw vengeance, wrapped in scars, reborn from fire. For 3 years, I lived in the shadows, piecing together the truth of my father's empire. Every debt he buried, every enemy he betrayed, every lie he whispered into society's ear. And I waited. I waited for the perfect day to rise from the ashes. And what better day than my sister's wedding, the day my father would celebrate his triumph, unaware that the ghost he thought he buried would walk among his guests. The wedding was grand, almost obscene in its wealth. Golden drapes, crystal chandeliers, violins playing as if the heavens themselves were paid to attend. My sister glowed in her gown, my father strutted like a king. Everyone believed the Moreno name was untouchable. Until I appeared. "Why are you still alive?" My father's voice echoed against the marble walls. I smiled. Calm, steady, deliberate. "Didn't expect me, father?" I said, stepping forward. Guests turned their heads between us, confusion rippling like a wave. My sister's face went from radiant joy to horror, her lips quivering as though she'd seen a ghost. "Isabella," she whispered. "Yes, dear sister. In the flesh. Not in ashes." Gasps spread through the hall. My father's grip tightened on his champagne glass until it shattered in his hand. Blood dripped down his knuckles, but he didn't feel it. His eyes were locked on me, wide with the panic of a man whose sins had come alive. You're supposed to be gone, he muttered, his voice breaking. And yet, here I stand, I replied, my tone sharp enough to slice through the silence. The guests murmured, questions rising like smoke. What is she talking about? Isn't that the daughter who disappeared? Dead? Alive? The walls of my father's empire were cracking, and every word I spoke was another hammer strike. I walked slowly toward the altar, each step echoing like a drumbeat of war. 3 years ago, you tried to kill me. You sent your men to burn me alive. You wanted me erased, your shame, your burden. No. My father roared, veins bulging in his neck. She's lying. She's insane. But his voice trembled, and the guests noticed. I turned to the crowd, lifting my hand. The scars on my skin glistened under the chandelier light. Gasps rippled again. These scars, I said, are my inheritance. The legacy of Rafael Moreno, the man you all admire. This is what he left his daughter. Whispers turned into accusations. Faces shifted with disgust. Some guests stepped away from my father as if guilt might stain them too. My sister's groom, pale and trembling, looked at Clarissa. Is this true? He asked. Clarissa's lips quivered. Her eyes darted from me to father, torn between blood and truth. She whispered, I thought, she died in an accident. No accident, Clarissa, I said, my voice heavy but steady. He wanted me gone so that you could shine without competition. So that his perfect little jewel would inherit it all. Tears welled in her eyes. No, no, father, tell me it isn't true. My father collapsed into a chair, his power dissolving in front of everyone. His voice broke into a whisper, you weren't supposed to survive. And there it was. The confession. The hall erupted. Some shouted, some cried, some stormed out in disgust. My father's allies, the business partners who clung to his shadow, backed away as though he were a disease. I leaned closer to him, my voice a dagger meant for his heart. You buried me once, father. But tonight, I bury you, with the truth. What happened next wasn't planned. My father, trembling and broken, grabbed a knife from the banquet table. His eyes burned with desperation, his pride bleeding out in front of everyone. If you think you'll destroy me, he hissed, then neither of us will survive this night. Guests screamed. Clarissa shrieked. The groom tried to step in, but I raised my hand. No, I said, staring into my father's wild eyes. This is between him and me. He lunged. Time slowed. I saw the blade flashing toward me, saw the madness in his face. But I wasn't the weak girl he once burned. I sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and twisted. The knife clattered to the floor. He fell to his knees, gasping, humiliated, broken. The crowd saw not a king, but a monster. You wanted me dead, father, I whispered, crouching beside him. But death would have been mercy. Living with your shame, with your empire crumbling around you, that is the revenge I choose. He sobbed, a sound I never thought I'd hear from him. A sound that told me I had won. That night, the wedding never finished. The groom left, unable to stand in the ruins of deception. Clarissa collapsed into tears, her perfect world shattered. My father was taken away, by police, by scandal, by the weight of his own sins. His empire dissolved, his name dragged through the mud he once forced others into. And me? I walked out of that hall free. Not just free from him, but free from the chains of silence, the fire of the past, the scars of betrayal. People ask me if I regret it, returning, revealing the truth, tearing apart the family name. But I don't. Revenge was never about killing him. It was about making him face what he created. About turning his question, "Why are you still alive?" into the curse that will haunt him until his last breath. And every time I remember his face, pale, broken, drowning in fear, I know my revenge was complete. The end.